Welcome, everybody. My name is Dave Harden. I'll be your host for the workshop this evening. I just need to do a little bit of technical stuff. If you're on, we're a little early. We start right at the top of the hour. We're going to do a little trivia, but I need to do a quick sound check. So if you're on one of the bigger channels, Facebook, YouTube, X, just give me a thumbs up that you can hear me. Use the chat function. I don't know about you. I got 17 inches of snow last night. So if you want to tell me how many inches you got, that would be awesome. I might be able to tell where you are from that. But it would help me if you could just give me a thumbs up that you can hear me. Let me know that the audio is okay, and then we can move on. If there aren't very many people on yet, people sort of flood at the top of the hour. So I'd appreciate it if you can hear me. If you would give me a hand here, just let me know that you can hear me, or tell me how many inches of snow you got, one or the other. There you go. 12 in Pittsburgh. Sounds good. I'm near State College, Margaret, so I got a little more than you, but good for you. We're both in Pennsylvania tonight. Anybody else? And it looks like you're on YouTube. Anybody from Facebook? Anybody from Facebook that can hear me, if you could jump in and just let me know. It looks like the reminder texts are a little slow tonight. So we might want to do a little bit of trivia before we get started. Anybody from Facebook, if you can hear me, just jump in and let me know that that the audio is okay. Or there we go, 6 inches. See, thanks. That's nothing. 17 last night. My wife swears it was 18, but the news says it was 17. Thanks, Maria. Appreciate it. All right. While we are waiting for people to join, because texts are going a little slow, I'm going to do a quick bit of trivia. Let's pull her up, and we'll just jump right in. So you can participate in this the same way people just answered about the audio. Just use your chat function. They're all multiple choice, A, B, C, or D. So you can just do it that way. And we'll have a little fun before we get started. All right, first question. How are the first 3 numbers of your Social Security number derived? So everybody has 9 numbers, 3 numbers, and 2 numbers, and 4 numbers. Those first 3, where do they come from? Is it A, the zip code of your birth city, B, zip code of the issuing Social Security office, C, random, or D, it represents the state where you were born? Excuse me, A, B, C, or D? Just take a guess. A, B, C, or D. A is zip code of the birth city. B is zip code of the issuing Social Security office. C is random. D, the state where you were born. There are no bad answers here. Just throw out a guess. A, B, C, or D? I see a D. See another D. There's another D. All right, there's a C. All right, thanks, guys. Thanks for jumping in. All right, let's pull her up here. Let's take a quick peek at the answer. Drum roll. Here we go. It's B. It's the zip code of the issuing Social Security office. Yeah, that's actually where you went to get it. Back when you and I were kids, you had to go into the office to actually bring your birth certificate to prove and get signed up, and then you could get a job. And that's what we did. And it was the first 3 letters of that issuing zip code of the office that issued your Social Security number, the Social Security office. All right, question 2. Why have more than 40,000 people claimed 078051120 as their personal own Social Security number? A, the number was stolen and sold over 40,000 times. Hendrick said, coming to Louisiana, thanks. I'm assuming you didn't get snow. Maybe some ice. Your Covington's just north of the lake, I think. Lake Pontchartrain. B, the Social Security machine got stuck on that number and issued it to 40,000 different people. Or C, it was a copy of a real Social Security card number that was included in a wallet that was sold at a Woolworths store or Woolworths to thousands of people. Is it A, B, or C? Number A is the number that's stolen over 40,000 times. B, Social Security machine got stuck and just kept printing out the same number as people applied. C, copy of a real Social Security card that was included in a wallet that was sold at Woolworths. Let me ask you if you would help me. I see one, I think, Margaret, that's A. Can you see the questions? I want to make sure that you can see the questions, that we're not having a difficulty there. Anybody, can you see the actual questions in front of you on the screen? I see some A's, I see some B's. Just give me a heads up. Yes, I can see the question. No, I don't see anything, Dave. No, Denise says no. My tech team is asking. Let me tell them. Let me. Why don't we, tech team? Why don't we close that out and reopen it and see if that helps? Yeah, people are saying they cannot see the question. Thanks for that feedback, everybody. I'm going to pull it off, pull it back on. It's already off. Let's see if we pull it back on, if you can see it then. Sorry, this is why we start a little early. All right, let's try this. Can you see that? Hold on. All right, there you go. Can you see the question now? We put it back up. Let's see if you can see the question now. Nope, still can't see the question. All right, I apologize. I do not know why that is happening. All right, guys, bear with me. We've only done a couple, I don't know, 500 of these. I've never had this happen before. Bear with me. Tech, they're saying they see me, but not the questions. I'm going to, Tech, let's pull up the actual workshop and see if we can see that. Bear with me, everybody. We're going to get started as soon as we get the technical problem fixed. Oh, somebody's saying they can see it on YouTube, but not on Facebook. Interesting. Tech, did you get that? Okay. In the meantime, Tech, can you put up a link to the YouTube so I can invite the Facebook attendees to go to YouTube, because apparently they can see it. Can anybody else see it on YouTube as well? Okay. Can you see the actual workshop? That's I'm on the left side of your screen, on the right side of your screen. No, I know it's small. Let's make that bigger, Tech. Tech, can you make the presentation bigger? People are I just want to make sure people can see it. All right, there you go. How about now? Okay. Tech, I do not know what's, bear with me, folks. We're going to get this figured out. They're saying only my voice. No, no, I'm not on the screen right now. What do you see on the screen right now? Green screen. I apologize, folks. Bear with me. Our tech team is working vigorously on fixing this. Hmm. All right. Apologize. All right. Only blank screen. All right. They can. I'm back, but still no workshop, no PowerPoint. Thanks. Some of you are very funny. I appreciate it. All right. I appreciate your patience here. We're going to get this figured out in a minute. I apologize. We are normally, in fact, I've never had this happen. Don't really understand why it's happening. I'm wondering, do we need, I don't want to suggest that we refresh or get out and get back in because Tech, what would happen if we did that? No, I'm here. If you can't hear my voice, I'm still here. We're just trying to figure it out. I'm a little confounded. Yeah, Maria is asking if we can provide a YouTube link. We could, but they're having as much problems as you are on Facebook, Maria. So it's not you. It's something to do. We use a process called Restream here, and we've used it hundreds and hundreds of times. Never had this problem. We're gonna sort it out. Just bear with us. But I don't really know what to do. So tech team is okay. Our tech team is saying that he has an option. 1 minute, please. Oh, I apologize. Well, great time for you to let me know how much snow you got yesterday. I got 17 inches. At least that's what the news said. I'd love to hear what you got. And if it's ice, I feel bad for you. I know how bad that can be. I'm assuming that everybody on has power. And okay, text now. There's Smith is saying that I'm talking on top of myself. Is there a way for me to share that? Okay, here you go. Look at the button below the screen. Now the computer icon below the main window. Okay, image or PDF, you will need to share your screen. Look at the button below the screen. Bear with me, folks. I've got a workshop and I'm going to try and share this. Computer icon below the main window is an up arrow. Okay, I see an up arrow. And it, bear with me, folks, it shows me Sentinel-1, Intel, Microsoft Teams, Microsoft Outlook, Bluetooth devices. Bottom of the screen. I'm on the bottom of the screen. Oh, here it is. Share screen. There we go, folks. Okay. I cannot see this. Let me ask you if you can see the screen. All right. Can you see the workshop now? There we go. All right. I can't see you, but I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna let my tech team work on it as we're going, but we're ready to we can move on. All right. Sorry for the delay. I hope you can see me. I'm going to ask my tech team to text me if there's an issue, but I'm going to move forward. All right. Thanks again for joining me. Let me do just a tad bit of housekeeping. People always ask, how long does this take? Tonight, I'm not sure, but typically about an hour and 20 minutes. At the end of that, I always do a Q&A. So you have a chance, if you can jump in to your to the chat section, just like you've been doing, and let me know what's going on. You can formulate your questions there. You can do that right now. You can set them up that way. When we're done with the workshop, we can immediately go to that and move forward. It would be greatly appreciated. Otherwise, let's get started. My name is Dave Harden. I am a registered financial consultant, an RFC. That's a designation for retirement planning and investment management. I also carry the NSSA. It's the only college accredited designation for Social Security and taxes in the country. I'm always amazed that more people don't have that. I just don't know how you do retirement planning without Social Security and taxes. It's impossible. I'm also the author of the Social Security workbook that I'm gonna get you this evening at the end of the workshop. So bear with me, we'll get that to you as well. All right, that being said, I also own a registered investment advisory firm, an RIA. It's registered with the SEC. We are in about 43 states, I think 1,231 client accounts. It's It's a big operation. We've done extraordinarily well. We just celebrated our 10th anniversary. I own it with my son, and we have a bunch of employees as well. We're very proud of the work that we've done there, but I want to set you at ease. I'm not here to talk about that tonight. We're not going to try and pitch you on stocks or investments. That's not our goal. We're going to talk about Social Security. But I need to disclose this. I am a fiduciary advisor. I carry a Series 65 through FINRA, licensed through FINRA. It is a fiduciary license. I act as a fiduciary when I deal with clients, when I deal with prospects, when I deal with even you. This evening, I need to do that, and so we'll do that as well this evening. All right. So why are we here? 10,000 baby boomers turned 65 today. That's 70,000 a week on average, 280,000 a month on average. Last year, 3.64 million turned 65. That's going to continue for the next 10 or 11 years. It will continue after that, just not quite at that pace. It's a lot of people, a huge amount of people. And as they turn 65, there's a huge interest in Social Security. But maybe more importantly, 65% of retired middle-income Americans derive more than 50% of their retirement income from Social Security alone. 65% of us get half of our retirement income from only Social Security. Then since 1985, American corporations have eliminated more than 84,000 pensions. I don't mean 84,000 people lost a pension. I mean 84,000 corporations, some of them with more than 100,000 employees. And then maybe the most interesting or devastating, if you will, statistic at all, 46.1% of us, almost half of us, currently pass away with less than enough to fund our own funeral. We're pretty much broke. Now, if that doesn't send a shiver down your spine, I don't know what will. But the shiver should come from how in the world does that happen? How do almost half of Americans end up basically broke when they're dead or before they die? That's a really important question, if for no other reason than to find out how and why and how to avoid it. Do you insure your home? Of course you do. Most of us don't have a choice, but who wouldn't do that anyway? Your car, I live in Pennsylvania, you don't have a choice. And what about your health or your retirement? Well, if you're interested in Social Security, you're also going to qualify for Medicare. Both of those are government-sponsored insurance programs, one for your health, which we're pretty much used to, but one is for your retirement. It's a lot that goes into it, but that is how we are insuring a huge portion of it. They're insurance programs. Maybe the most interesting thing I'm going to talk about this evening, well, maybe not, but it's certainly interesting. What's the risk of outliving your income? Look at this. This is fascinating to me. This is census data. If you're a single male, age 65, you have a 50% chance of living to 85. Now, I don't think anybody is surprised at that. 1 in 2 chance, but you have a 1 in 4 chance you're living to 92. I used to, when I first got in the industry, I've been in it a long time. It's the late 70s. I remember we used to do modeling. We used to sit down and plan for somebody's retirement and how long they might live. And I remember the constant answer in 1978 was, well, let's plan to 80, maybe 85. Well, 85 is pretty much the average these days. If you make it to 65, there's a really good chance you're making it to 85. Look at this. If you're a single female, 50% chance of living to 88, 25% chance, a 1 in 4 chance you're living to 94. And if you're a couple, 2 people who care about each other, that's all it takes. The male has a 50% chance in that relationship of living to 92, 7 more years than a single counterpart. And the female has a 50% chance of living to 97. 97. These are big numbers. You can't ignore them because when you're planning your retirement, used to be you could take a guess at look, this was started, Social Security was started in 1935, and it set a retirement age of 65 when the average male lived to 62 in 1935. This wasn't for everybody back then. It was for the people that lived longer than they thought they were gonna. Nowadays, everybody, well, not everybody, but most of us are living significantly longer than that. This is Ethel Carterham. She's the oldest living person in the world. She's soon to be 116. She lives in England. She took Sister Anna Lucas's place. She was a nun in the Vatican that was 116 years old and passed away a couple of years ago. Before that, it was Connie Tanaka, who died at 119 years old in 2022. And before her, Tomiko Ituka in Japan. And before her, there was a woman in Jamaica, last name Brown, who lived to 122. We are living longer and longer and longer, and you cannot ignore that. In fact, if you'd have looked at this, I pay a little bit of attention to this. If you'd have looked at the list of the oldest living people in the world 15 years ago, it had a couple of Americans on it. Today, it's chock full of us. Our parents and our grandparents are living longer and longer and longer. I would not at all be surprised if somebody in our audience tonight had a mother or father or somebody in their family that was over 100. It's happening more and more frequently all the time. All right, here's what we're going to dig into tonight. Benefit basics, how you get your Social Security. Strategies for married couples, strategies or options for divorced individuals, options for widows and widowers. Now, if you're single wondering, what about me? Don't worry, plenty for you tonight. Social Security was created for you. These are all the offshoots. But if you're worried, hey, is there something meaningful? See that word taxes? Boy, do you need to pay attention. We all do. But single people really need to dig in and understand this before they file for their Social Security. And then why and how important it is to coordinate your benefits. All right, so we're going to talk about the basics of Social Security. How do you get Social Security? You get it, sorry, let me see if I can fix that. You get it by working at a job where Social Security, you were covered by it. Now, I say covered because that's the term they use, but the truth is you were forced into it because if you had a job in the U.S., they took money out of your paycheck for it. Now, you paid into it, and it qualified you. Now, if you were self-employed, you already know that your employer paid in and you paid in. But if you're self-employed, you paid both sides of that. They use the highest 35 years of earned wage income to calculate your Social Security benefit. Why is this important? Not the first 35 years you work, not the last. Individual years, totaling 35 of them, the individual years prorated and then picked out by their income amounts being the highest of the top 35 that you had. You could have worked 50, you could have worked 60. They're going to use the highest 35 years after proration. Now, to qualify for that, you needed to work at least a minimum to qualify for a Social Security retirement income. You needed 40 credits. 40 credits is a quarter. A credit is a quarter, January, February, March, April, May, June, and so on, where you earned this year $1,890 minimum. That would total about $8,000 a year. It's not very much these days, but that's just the minimum. And by the way, that wasn't a lot today, but 30, 40 years ago, it was quite a bit. But that's been prorated back in like 1980, Two, that was like $218 for a quarter, less than $900 a year. So it's gone up considerably. Now you can only earn one credit per quarter. You can only earn 4 credits in a year. You can earn $100,000 in January. You still only get one credit for that. And then there used to be some exclusions and reductions, but they have all disappeared. What do I mean by that? Well, back in 2015, no, I'm sorry. Last year in 2025, Social Security Fairness Act was passed in January. I think it was signed into law on January 5th. It took away the penalty called GPO and WEP. WEP is windfall elimination provision, GPO, government pension offset. So if you worked for the government, well, not just the government, state governments, federal governments, local governments, city governments, school districts, where you paid in not to Social Security, but to a pension and opted out of that pension. Now, the government has had both things where they had employees that were not paying into Social Security while they were hiring new employees that were paying in. So some of you, if you work for the federal government, know exactly what I'm talking about. But this has all changed. So it used to be that, let's take the WP. Let's say you worked for the federal government for 20 or 30, 35 years, but you retired. You have a wonderful pension, but you're only 55. So you decide to go back to work, but not at the government, in the private sector. And you start paying into Social Security. And you realize you've worked 5 or 6 years, and you realize if I work 4 more years, I get Social Security on top of my pension. Why wouldn't I do that? But when you went to claim your Social Security, because you didn't have, it's sort of an arbitrary number, 31 years, they would apply this WEP rule that Congress came up with, and they would say, hey, you keep your pension, but we're going to reduce your Social Security because you didn't put enough years in full time, 31 to be exact. Now, not very fair, right? Because you paid for both. You didn't pay less to get that Social Security benefit. In fact, your Social Security benefit is already smaller because you probably only had 10 or 12 years. Same thing, or a little different, with the GPO, the government pension offset. Let's say I work for the government for 40 years. I have a wonderful pension, but I have a spouse that didn't work for the government. My spouse, I've been married 49 years. My wife, when I met, she was already working as a school teacher. When a few years later, when we started having children, the intent was to go back, and she took one look at my oldest daughter's eyes and she said, I can't. And I said, okay. Boy, was it hard, but we made it. But she stayed out of work at home, working much harder than she probably ever dreamed about, until our littlest one got into school full time and she felt settled enough that she could do it. And then she went back to work. But she didn't have 35 years. She didn't have 31. And when she went to get her pension or her Social Security, they gave it to her. She didn't work for the federal government, but I did. But I'm sure I would have thought, well, what happens if something happens to me? She'll get my pension. She has her Social Security. She's going to be fine. She'll probably be better off financially because she won't have to feed me. Right? Here's the problem. When she goes to collect mine, the GPO is going to come in and say, look, you didn't have 31 years. We're going to reduce your Social Security, or listen to this, you didn't have enough at all. We're just going to take it away. You get the pension, but that's enough. This was arbitrary and unfair. And it applied to people in the military. to railroad employees that had pensions that the government sort of sanctioned, to state, local governments, teachers' unions, all teacher pensions, all sorts of people. But last year, the government finally woke up and said, "This is not right. We're just stealing money from people. We're going to give it back." And you should, if this applied to you, you should have already started to get your full amount of Social Security, and they would have paid you back to December 23. Now, I could say, I don't really have to explain why they didn't pay you back for all of the time that you might have taken it. But the answer is, they don't have the money. But at least they made this right. All right, how does Social Security work? You put in 6.2% of your paycheck, of your entire paycheck, up to this year maximum paycheck earnings of $184,500. Once you've put that in, once that you've had that much income, every dollar after that, the 6.2 doesn't apply anymore. You get the full paycheck without a FICA payout. Your employer matches that. So that 6.2 is doubled to a total of 12.4. 12.5 is 1/8, right? So not half, not a quarter, but an eighth of your paycheck. Every single paycheck you've ever had. For me, that starts to when I'm 14 years old, working at the lunch counter, washing dishes behind it at Woolworths. Isn't that interesting? That's every single paycheck you've ever had. It adds up to a lot of money. Business Insider did a study. This is probably 4 or 5 years ago. A married couple, average $50,000 a piece. Just in Social Security and Medicare contributions for them over their lifetime. This is at age 65. They contribute $740,000. Some of you are, can I just have that back? It just doesn't work that way. Now, today's contributions cover today's benefit. Social Security is basically a pay-as-you-go system. The money we pay in this month goes out next month to the people receiving benefits. It's been that way since its inception in 1935. It was set up that way. In 1935, it was written into law that the money we collect goes out to, that's why it is self-funded. When I say self-funded, the government doesn't put money in this. We did. In fact, the government has continually borrowed money out of the trust fund. And that's what's happened. So this has worked incredibly well because every generation up until now has been significantly bigger than the previous generation. Our grandparents' generation about this big, our parents' generation about this big, baby boomers about this big. Here's the problem. Does anybody know how many millennials there are? 77 million baby boomers, 81 million millennials. Not near enough to be the amount that we need, right? That's why when our parents' generation was here and we were here, we loaded the trust fund with money to help get us through. We loaded it up. But that brings up the question about solvency. Now, I have a very different take on solvency than you've probably heard. I'm going to explain it. Look, I just want you to know I'm not going to pull punches here, but I'm not going to tell you the story that everybody loves to tell people to scare them. 1983 was an incredibly important year for Social Security. It was the year that things changed, and they changed distinctively for baby boomers. If you're a baby boomer, and most of you are, I'd be surprised if almost all of you are. If you're a baby boomer, you got a letter from Social Security in August of 1983. I don't know if you remember it. I'll remind you of it. I remember it was an August day. I came home from work. My wife had the mail on the table. I looked at it, and there's a letter to her and a letter to me, both from the Social Security Administration. First letter I'd ever gotten from Social Security. I thought to myself, why are they sending me a letter? I'm not anywhere close to retiring. But the letter said something like this. I don't know. Let me see if you remember it. Since our inception, since Social Security Administration's inception, Social Security's full retirement age has been 65. But for you, those famous words, but for you. If you're born after 1943, but before 1954, it's no longer going to be 65, it's going to be 66. And if you're born after 1954, add 2 months for every year until you reach birth year 1960. So 1955, 66 and 2 months, 56, 66 and 4 months, and so on until it caps out at 1960 at 66 and 12 months, or 67. And for everybody born in 1960 or after, it caps out at 67. Now, I was at the office the next day, a little stunned, and I remember having a conversation, thinking next to the coffee urn, I think that's what they called it back then, and we're having a conversation, and I asked about the letter. Did you get a letter? And we're having this conversation about Social Security, and really, my concern, and the reason I was bringing it up, wasn't that I lost a year. I mean, I got that. My concern was, how many of these letters am I going to get before I reach 66 that just take away more and more years? And the answer was, I didn't know, but it scared me. Interestingly, there was somebody near us who was overhearing the conversation. And for the first time in my life, I heard something that I've heard countless times since. What are you worried about Social Security for? It's not going to be around when you retire. You better prepare. Boy, were they wrong. They were just flat out wrong. But people love to say that. Now, look, Social Security is fully funded to 2035. That's 9 more years. 9.5, actually, but it's 9.5 more years. But here's the thing that nobody says. It's roughly funded 83 cents on the dollar thereafter, period. Everybody says, oh, they're going to run out of money. Well, it was set up exactly the same way. It's never changed. They have enough money from ongoing contributions to fund 83 cents of every benefit that is supposed to be paid out. So fixing the problem isn't a how do we save Social Security, is how do we get 17 cents on the dollar to fund the difference? Now, there's 4 basic proposals to solve or improve solvency. Let me just go through these. I think you're going to be as interested in this as I am, but I'm not very excited about most of these. Increase the minimum retirement age, currently it's 62 to 64 or 5. That helps a little, not a lot. Increase the full retirement age from 66 or 67 to 70 or 72. Helps a little more, but not a lot. Increase the payroll tax. This is the one that solves the problem. The OMB, the Office of Management Budget, did a study 4 years ago or so. Said if we raised that 6.2% that you pay and that your employer pay, if we raised that 1%, 0.5% to each, this is 4 or 5 years ago, it would have fixed the problem for about 70 more years. They didn't do it. By the way, that's been floated out there for more than 25 years, and nobody's done it. I can't imagine that anybody we've got hundreds of people on here, I don't think anybody would say, no, that's terrible to save Social Security. I don't think that's a reasonable thing. I think everybody go, great, do whatever you got to do. Just do it reasonably and do it as cheaply as you can, but do it. And then the one that everybody touts, oh, we'll just reduce benefits. We'll just pay you less. We'll just Take that hard-earned money that you paid for. Everybody says, "Oh, Social Security is an entitlement." It's an entitlement. I get sick of this. It's an entitlement. If you're getting disability from Social Security after 5 years of working and you're permanently disabled the rest of your life, you get that check. It's an entitlement program. But how, after paying for 40 years into a system where I paid dearly for it, is getting that money back an entitlement? It isn't an entitlement. It is absolutely not an entitlement. Those benefits were earned by us. We paid into it and we deserve every dime of them, period. So why don't they fix this? They're gonna. They're gonna. I'll point out. Well, I was at a conference. It was an invitation only conference of advisors, top 200 guys people that I admire, people on the stage that were speaking that I listened to every word I can from them. But in that conference, it was in Coronado Bay in California. This is like April of last year, and great conference. But the conference had these separate meetings where they had subject matter things where they'd break out and somebody would talk about specifics like money management or something else. But one of them was on Social Security, and I spend a lot of time on Social Security, mostly because most of the people in my industry don't. So I went and I sat right in the middle. I was probably 4 rows back, and there are four speakers, at the breakout section, one and a moderator. And I see the moderator walk in, and I don't recognize him. I don't know who it is. But the very first speaker walks in, and I absolutely recognize as a former director of the Social Security Administration. That's a big job. Don't know the next two people, and the fourth person, I didn't know him, but it was another former director of the Social Security Administration. One from each party, by the way, one Democrat, one Republican. And I thought this is going to be interesting. And they had great conversations. But at the end, they did a Q&A, just like I'm going to do tonight. And at the Q&A, everybody knew what the first question was going to be. There was no doubt that it was going to be on solvency. And that's exactly what happened. And here's what they said. Now, pay attention. This is interesting. They said, yeah, there's a problem, but it's going to get fixed. Should you worry about it? You can worry, but it's going to get fixed. How do you know that? We just know it's going to get fixed. And they reminded us that a few years ago, most of you know this, out of the blue, our government suddenly manufactured and produced $4.5 trillion to spend on COVID, on PPP loans and that were forgiven, on everything in the world. $4.5 trillion out of the clear blue sky for something that anybody would say today wasn't anywhere near as important as the federal government keeping its promise to people who have earned a Social Security benefit. Nobody is going to get shorted. And then one of the Social Security Administration former directors said this: Social Security's policies are so rich in terms of protection of the benefits of people that it is unthinkable. And he used this example: if you get if your Social Security benefit is it goes up by $100 this year from cost of living adjustment, but your Medicare benefit goes up by 120. So that would result in you getting $20 less in your benefit than you did the previous year. You know what the policy is? They eat the difference. They lower your Medicare premium by $20 so that you never, ever, ever get less benefit than you did the year before. It's that important that their pledge to seniors are that that just doesn't happen. Can you imagine an agency that's done that for 80 some years now, taking and deciding, oh, we're just going to cut people's benefits? It's not going to happen. It just won't happen. All right. You get your full benefit, your FRA, your full retirement age benefit at 66 or 67. You get 100% of it. If you take it early, you get less. No surprise there. You can take your benefit as early as 62, but you don't get 100%, you get 75%. If you delay, you get what's called DRCs, delayed retirement credits. 8% per year. It's 2/3 of 1% per month, but it adds up to 8% per year. Now, they're not compounding, but they are stacking. So you get 8% plus 8% plus 8% plus 8%, all the way to at 70, 132% of your full retirement age benefit. Listen to this. The difference between taking your benefit at 62 and getting 75% and delaying to get your benefit at 70 is getting a benefit that is 177% more. 177% of your age 62 benefit. It's like getting an FRA benefit, a full retirement age benefit, and a 62 benefit for waiting to age 70. And people always say, "Oh, should I just take it as early as I can? What happens? What happens?" Here's why I balk at that. And one of the reasons I get so upset about the conversations that people have about solvency, scaring people, because Cerulli it's a company that does financial surveys and things for mass amounts of people. They did a study a while back on why people take their benefits so early. And this is why I get upset about the solvency issue, because when they asked the last year and the year before, 40%, 2 in 5 of us took our benefit at the earliest possible age at 62. We couldn't wait to get it. When they surveyed people to ask, the two most common things were, one is, what if I don't live? I put all this money into Social Security. Maybe I get nothing. But the most common answer is, what if Social Security goes bust? What if they don't pay out anymore? What if there's nothing left? I put all this money in and I won't get anything. That's terrible. And they scare people into taking it early. It's happening every single day. But people have no idea how much they're throwing away by doing that. All right. 3 distinct Social Security benefits. Retired workers benefit, the benefit that you get on your own by, sorry, one second. On your own, that has nothing to do with anyone else's benefit. A spousal benefit that is entirely based not on the spouse who's getting the benefit from their spouse, but the worker's spouse, the main money earner, and their contributions to Social Security. You could marry somebody that had never worked a day in their life in the United States, and they're still entitled to this benefit after they've been married to you for 1 year. Widower, or survivor benefits, again, provide a surviving spouse with the benefit after the worker's death, entirely based not on the survivor's work history, entirely based on the deceased worker's contributions. All right, I'm going to go through this particularly fast because 95% of it doesn't apply, but there's one thing that does apply that absolutely I cannot gloss over. This is called the Bipartisan Budget Act of 2015. It changed Social Security for married couples and divorced spouses, creating 3 sets of rules, all based on your birthday. The act didn't change anything in terms of the ability to elect for a widow benefit and then switch to a retirement benefit or vice versa, nor did it affect those that have never been married. So if you're single, you're not affected by this either. Here's the thing. Here's the reason I don't spend a lot of time. This was changed in 2015. If you had come to me in 2014 and said, hey, when should I file Social Security? I'd have told you to go and file at 62. But Dave, you just sort of made it sound like waiting made sense. Yeah, it does. But if you filed at 62 and suspended your benefit, so you file, but you immediately suspend your benefit, same day, that would allow your spouse to come in the next day and file what was called a restricted application for only your spousal benefit. Your benefit is unaffected. It grew all the way to full retirement age. It grew with those DRCs all the way to 70, and you could take it at any time you wanted. And your spouse's own benefit continued on and grew all the way to full retirement age, all the way with the DRCs with those extra until they were 70. And then they could switch when it made sense. But it was a great way for them to collect half of your benefit while they were waiting. Great rule. You can't do this anymore. So if you're born before May 1st, 1950, you're already 76 or almost 76, you're 75. If you haven't filed for your benefit yet, you've made a huge error. And same with group 2, born after May 1st, 1950, but before January 2nd, 54, you're already at least 71. You just turned 72. You shouldn't have delayed this far either. But if you're born after January 2nd, 54, this is pretty much all of us. You can't do this at all. So why am I talking about it? Because when they passed this law for group 3, they also added in deemed filing. Deemed filing changes how we file dramatically. Used to be, I could go in and say, I'd like this benefit. I'd like to do the spousal benefit. I'd like to do this benefit. I can't do that anymore. Now I can. They'll say, oh, yeah, sure. But they're going to go to their computer. And on the day that you file, they're going to look up the highest paying benefit you can get. What's wrong with that, Dave? Nothing. But that's the one you get, whether it makes sense or not. Whether you could have filed a different one and let that one grow further, you can't do that anymore. The day that you file is the day that you get the highest benefit, and you've locked it in, and you can't change it. If you're in this group born after January 2nd, 54, timing strategies matter because you have very few options now. And if you blow it, you have blown it forever. There's no way to fix it. Once you've taken it, you've taken it. All right, considerations for married couples. If you're interested in spousal benefits, you must have been married for 1 full year. If you've been married less than a year, you cannot get a spousal benefit. Primary worker has to file. So I told you before, I've been married 49 years. My wife filed to get her own benefit, even though my benefit, the spousal benefit that she would have gotten from me, would have been far in excess of her benefit. But she can't file that because I have not yet filed. And until I file, she can't get it. So the primary worker must have filed. Generally, you must not qualify for a benefit on your own that is equal to or greater than 1/2 of the primary worker's PIA. 1/2 of their PIA. So let me explain this. John's primary insurance amount at full retirement age is $2,000. Jane, his spouse, would be eligible for 1/2 at her full retirement age. She would get half of the $2,000, $1,000. Pretty simple. By the way, PIA stands for primary insurance amount. It's about it's not the same thing, but it's statistically very close number to your full retirement age benefit. This seems pretty simple, right? All right. If you file for spousal benefits early or late, there are some things you need to know. Again, file at 66 or 67 or your full retirement age, you're going to get 100% of your PIA, of yours, your full retirement age benefit, and your spouse is going to get 100% of 50% of that. But if you file early as 62, you get 75% of your benefit. The spouse files their spousal benefit early. They don't get half, they get 70% of half. So in the example we just saw, John's benefit was $2,000. Jane at her full retirement age would get half, $1,000. If she filed at 62, she would get 70% of half, or $700. Now, there's further benefits here. If you delay, you get these wonderful DRCs, delayed retirement credits, 8% plus 8% plus 8% plus 8%. If you delay a spousal benefit, listen to this, you get nada, nothing. There's no extra money for delaying past your FRA, your full retirement age. I cannot tell you in my career how many people I've seen holding on to their spousal benefit, waiting for it because they think they're getting delayed retirement credits past their full retirement age. They are not. In fact, if your benefit is $2,000 and you file at full retirement age, great. But if you file at 70, it's still $2,000. You'll get a little adjustment for cost of living, but you'll get no DRCs at all. Worse, if I make a mistake on my own benefit, I can go back easy 6 months. In most cases, I can go back a year, and they'll literally write me a check for the entire benefit amounts that I was supposed to get but didn't, in a lump sum, and then start my benefit thereon. Spousal benefits can only be filed forward, not backwards. I can never get money that I left on the table. If you do this, you've just left a big amount, and you're not going to get any extra. All right, survivor benefits. At the death of the first spouse, the surviving spouse can receive the maximum of either his or her own benefit, no surprise there, right? The benefit of the deceased. So if something happens to me, my wife can keep her benefit, or she can take my benefit. But let's say I filed at 62 and I really cut that benefit significantly. I took a blowtorch to it. The government, this has happened so much. I told you in the last few years, 40% of us have filed at 62. So this is happening more and more, and leaving widows and widowers who were thinking they had more getting less and less because their spouse filed so early. So the government has come in, and I don't know if I want to say generously, but they bumped that 75% to 82.5% of the PI of the deceased when the deceased filed very early. It's not a lot, but it is something. All right, most common mistakes: higher wage earner files early, shortchanges survivor benefits. This happens all the time. And then both delay past full retirement age. Nobody claims spousal benefit. Again, this happens a lot. All right, divorced individuals. To qualify for divorced spouse benefits, you must have been married for 10 years in a row to the same person. So there are no stopsies and starties, and no switching partners in midstream. 10 years to the same person in a row. You cannot currently be married. If you have a divorced spouse that you were married to for at least 10 years and you remarry, those benefits are no longer yours. You have a current spouse, and after 1 year, you have spousal benefits again. But that's the only way this works. The previous divorced spouse benefits disappear. Now, here's a caveat to that. If I divorce after 10 years, but I remarry a year later, but I divorce or my spouse passes away, the previous spouse that I was married to for at least 10 years, those benefits reappear for me, and I have some options that I didn't have before. Now, same benefit amounts and reductions apply for early claiming as they do for regular spousal benefits. There is zero difference between divorced spouse benefits and spousal benefits, with one exception. It's a pretty big exception. It's called the independently entitled rule. Again, my wife, 49 years, cannot file for benefits on me because I have not filed. Didn't used to be that way, but it is now. Now, if we had been divorced for 2 years, that rule is no longer applicable. She could go and file on mine whether I filed or not at that point. That's the only difference between spousal and divorced spouse benefits. All right, bipartisan budget gap for divorced individuals. Again, nothing's changed here. You can't do this anymore if you were born prior to May 1st, 1950, if you're born after that, but before January 2nd, 54. None of these happen. They're all gone at this point, and you're too old to file. But if you're born after January 2nd, 54, like all of the people on here, the restricted application, of course, is no longer available either. But if you're older than your ex-spouse and you're not currently married, you can claim your own benefit as early as age 62. You could switch to a larger divorced spouse benefit when your ex-spouse reaches their full retirement age. And this can be done more than once if you have multiple qualifying ex-spouses. So if you have multiple qualifying 10-year marriages, you can play some divorced spouse roulette. You can pick and choose which spouse you take their benefit from in the order that makes the most financial sense for you, and then switch when it makes more sense, or when the younger one or the one with more money reaches a longer age, a full retirement age benefit, before you switch to that one. It's very generous in how they've done this, and there's some options for you that obviously people who are not divorced don't have. All right, common questions we get from those who are divorced. Do divorce benefits affect the current spouse? So look, does my current spouse get affected if my ex-spouse applies and takes benefits from me? And the answer is no. You could have two ex-spouses both claiming benefits, and your current spouse claiming benefits, and children under 18 getting benefits. They're all going to get the benefit, period. And then what about, are they notified? Are they going to be told? And the answer is no. That just like your doctor cannot share your medical information because of HIPAA without your written permission, Social Security can't share your financial information with anybody else either. Here's the only exception. If you can prove the 10-year marriage with a marriage license, and a final divorce decree signed by the court, proving you had a 10-year marriage to someone, they will give you the necessary information to know if you can file and what the benefit would be. That's it. That's the only exception to that rule. All right, considerations for widows and widowers. To qualify for widow benefits, or widow or widower benefits, you must be 60 years old. This is the only retirement benefit available to anybody prior to the earliest age of 62. Widows and widowers can get this as early as age 60, but they must have remained unmarried prior to their 60th birthday. If your spouse dies at age 35, if you marry again, even for a day prior to your 60th birthday, these benefits are no longer yours. But if you marry a day after you turn 60, these are yours, and you can get them even while you are married. The marriage has to be a minimum of 9 months long prior to the death of your spouse. Special exceptions are very few. Military one, a member of the Armed Service of the United States of America killed in line of duty. A full-time law enforcement officer of the United States killed in line of duty, or a full-time fireman killed in line of duty. That's it. Those are the only exceptions. All right, I'm going to do a quick widow example. This applies to widows and widowers, so it's the same. I'm going to go through this, and really, this is about why it's so important to file correctly and having a plan to file correctly, and why that makes so much sense. Let me just go through it. I'll show you what I'm talking about. John, never elected and dies at age 64. Benefit at his full retirement age would have been $2,150. Jane, 5 years younger, age 59 when John passes away. She remains unmarried until her 60th birthday, so she qualifies. Jane's estimated benefit on her own, this is her benefit, not a widow or widower benefit, she can't get until she's at least 62. So she'd have to wait 2 more years. And at 62, it would be $1,197. Let's take a look and see what the options are. I call the first option here, file without thinking. It's what so many of us do. We go into Social Security without a plan, without really knowing what is available to us, and we ask them for advice. Now, let me make this clear. I haven't said this before tonight, but Social Security cannot give you advice. It's in their charter, the first day of training, that they train somebody that's working the desk or the phones or filing, is to not give advice. They'll answer questions, but they won't tell you that's the wrong question. They won't wink and nod and say, ask me this question. They can't do that. So if you're asking the wrong question, you might already be in trouble. Now, here's what's going to happen. You walk in and you say, hey, how much can I get? And they're going to go to their computer and they will answer that question as of today. So they're going to look at their thing and they're going to say, look, you have a benefit, but the only benefit available to you on today at your age 60 is the survivor benefit, the widower benefit. And it's not $2,150 because you're taking it at age 60, it's $1,537. But you say, I need it, so I'll take it. We say, okay, we're going to do simple math here, by the way. No cost of living adjustments. We're just going to do it easy so we get the easiest look at comparing it. We're going to say you live 25 more years to 85. We're going to give you $1,537 times 300. 300 months is 25 years. You get a total benefit of $461,100. Option 1, strategy 1, is don't take that. Take your benefit at 62. Maybe you're working, making $40,000, $50,000 a year. Work 2 more years, then you can take your own benefit, but it's not going to be the 2,104. It's going to be 1,197. But you take that until your full retirement age. Why? Because that widow benefit is still there. And it will have matured. It won't grow a dime after you reach your full retirement age. So that's when you switch. And it goes from, now your own benefit is $1,197, but the survivor benefit is $2,150 if you wait until age 67. It's a nice way to make a bunch more money. This is more than $80,000 more over your lifetime. That's a lot of money. A lot of people say strategy 2 is better. Hey, I can't wait, Dave. I can't wait 2 years. I don't have a job paying $40,000. I need the benefit and I need it now. So you take that survivor benefit, that $1,537 a month, started at age 60, you take it, but remember that other benefit, that $1,197 a month, that's your benefit. It's not more now, but if you delay all the way to full retirement age, and then you delay all the way to 70, you get those delayed retirement credits, 8% plus 8% plus 8% plus 8%. When you reach 70, that benefit is still yours, and it's more. it's $2,108 by then. That's when you switch. If you have a plan, you know this. Now, look at the difference. Instead of 461,000, you brought home 563,000, 102,000, almost 103,000 by the way, more than if you'd just asked the question and forgot about it for the rest of your life. This is I don't know anybody that can make $100,000 just walk away from it because they didn't have a plan. Nobody has that much money. I don't care how much you have. Having a plan here makes a huge difference. And it can make a huge difference for you. All right, in the year that you turn full retirement age, your FRA, you can earn, and this is age 62, 63, 64, 65. For some of you, it's 66. If you take your benefit, but keep working, and you earn more than, not a lot, $24,480 in a year, for every $2 over that $24,000, they're going to take $1 of your benefit back. Let me put this in big terms here, simple terms. Let's say you have a $2,000 a month benefit, $24,000 a year, and you made $58,000 last year. At the end of the year, you owe every dime of that $24,000, $2,000 a month back with interest. This is not a mistake that you can afford to make. It's a terrible way to start retirement. You can literally just lose that entire benefit. And look, the Social Security Administration has an incredibly good collection system. They have a whole department for this. It's really easy to collect. They just will stop paying you your benefit, or they'll stop paying you half, depending on how much you owe them, until it's paid off. You might say, well, now I'm not working. I can't do that. I have to have my... No, it doesn't work that way. They've heard it all before. In the year that you turn FRA, full retirement age, for some of you it's at 66, for some of you it's at 67, you can earn up to $65,160, but for every $3 over that, they're still going to take $1 of your benefit away. Now, let me make this clear. This is money earned after you took your benefit. So if your birthday is in November, you're probably not likely to earn that after you've taken your benefit, if you took your benefit based on your birthday. But if you got a February birthday, you might have a problem here. And it's really important that you pay attention. That being said, after your full retirement age, you can earn as much as you want. You can earn $1 billion, and there's zero reduction in you getting your benefit. And I could take a dime away from you. But if you earn $1 billion, you might have to deal with this thing called taxes. Well, you might have to. You're going to have to. All right, here it is. I don't know. I wish I could poll you all and ask how many of you knew that Social Security was taxable before this evening. And I asked that question not tongue-in-cheek because it wasn't always taxable. Remember when I told you 1983 was a really big year for Social Security and for baby boomers? It's the year that Social Security became taxable. Social Security was set up as a non-taxable benefit. Why? Because you've already paid tax on it. What do you mean? Well, when you put money into FICO, at the end of the year, do you get a deduction for that? Absolutely not. You paid with after-tax dollars the contributions into the Social Security system. It was set up that way in 1935. President Roosevelt designed the benefit to be tax-free. And it was until Congress said, uh-oh, baby boomers, there's a lot of them. If we don't do something, we're going to have a problem. And they targeted baby boomers, not just with changing our retirement age, but with taxes. And it's a big deal. And there's really not a lot you can do about it. I wish this would change, but it's more likely going to get worse instead of better. Now, some of you, I can hear some of you say, wait a second, didn't they just pass this bill last year that said no taxes on Social Security? No, they didn't. That was talked about, but here's what actually happened. Last year in the OBBBA, they set aside a deduction of an additional $6,000, not on your Social Security, just an extra deduction if you're age 65 or older. So if you're a married couple, you get a $12,000 deduction. Here's the bad part. For 3 years. Last year, this year, and next year, 2027. And then it disappears. There is no extra deduction for Social Security. Your Social Security is taxable if you have, well, I'll explain how it works in a second. This is a big deal. And if you don't know about this, prepare, because what I'm about to show you is ruining people's retirement. It is having a massive effect on people. And if you haven't done tax planning with your Social Security, then you probably don't have an actual retirement plan. It's that big a deal. Let me show you how this works, and then we'll go. In 1983, by the way, wondering how to figure out how to do your taxes with Social Security? This is publication 915. It's 33 pages long. And it comes with a nice worksheet, but it's complex. All right. This chart was created by Congress in 1983. It is provisional income. That's how your taxes on your Social Security are determined, by provisional income. So let me talk about this for a second. If you're a single person, remember I told you I'd have something for you earlier? If you're a single person and you earn $25,000 of provisional income, 50% of your Social Security is fully taxable at the highest marginal tax rate you pay. Last dollar tax, not first dollar tax. So if you're in a 22% tax bracket, then the tax on your Social Security is 22%. If you are in a 28% tax bracket, then it's 28%. If you're in a 35, it's 35. It's whatever the last dollar tax you paid, highest amount of tax that you paid, that's the tax on your Social Security. If you earn $34,000 of provisional income, 85% of your Social Security is fully taxable at the highest marginal tax rate you pay. I love there's this 2,752 pages of Social Security code. 83 of them are about taxes. There's a wonderful line in the tax code that says we never tax 15% of your Social Security. Isn't that kind of them? If you're a couple, married couple, doesn't matter how you file, jointly, separately, doesn't matter. Your combined income is provisional income is $32,000. 50% of your Social Security is fully taxable at the highest marginal tax rate you pay. If you earn $44,000 of provisional income, 85% of your Social Security is fully taxable at the highest marginal tax rate you pay. What do I mean by this? Okay. Let me explain. I can hear you asking, what the heck is provisional income? Let me just go through what it counts and why this is a problem. So what's in provisional income? Your W-2 income. No surprise there, right? You got a job, you're earning W-2 income, any gross income or wages that you make, any pensions you make. I don't care what kind of pension it is, military, disability, any pension gets counted 100%. All your wages, all your interest income, all your tax exempt interest income. You're thinking, hey, I'm going to buy some muni bonds and pay less income tax in retirement. No problem, but it all counts as provisional income, so we can try and get you to pay tax on your Social Security. All 1099 income, all of it, 100% of it goes into provisional income. So that's sales income, that's real estate sales income, that's casual labor income, anything that you get a 1099 for. Real estate income. Maybe you're thinking, hey, there's some huge benefits in owning real estate and getting a real estate income. I can do some things with depreciation and stuff, but 100% of your Schedule E income, all your rental income counts as provisional income. All your business income. I don't care what kind of business you have. It's a partnership, an LLC, whatever it is. You get profits from that or income from that, it 100% counts. Maybe you get a K1 at the end of the year. The company had a profit of $50,000. You and your partner didn't split that. You left it in the company because you needed to buy something or hire more people or do whatever, but it still counts as your K1 income, and it counts 100% as provisional income. Maybe you're like my daughter and son-in-law who overpay the government on a consistent basis every year so that next year they get a big tax return. And they've done lots of stuff. They've bought cars, they've done home improvements, they've gone on vacation. I've seen them do all sorts of stuff with that tax refund. But in the year that you receive the tax refund, it all counts as provisional income. All right, here are the interesting ones. Do you have an IRA, a 401k, a 403b, a 457, a SEP, a SERP, a SLRP, any tax-deferred account, any tax-deferred, TSPs, I don't care what they are. When you take the benefit from those, you put it in tax-free, right? It grows tax-deferred. But when you take it out, it's taxable, and it 100% counts as provisional income. Now, here's the thing. Some of you are scratching your head going, wait a second. My advisor said I should pour money into my IRAs because it was going to grow tax deferred. And then when I took it out in retirement, my taxes would be lower. Well, maybe he hasn't looked in the tax code in the last 10 years. He certainly hasn't looked at the Social Security problem. Because by doing that, you also have caused yourself to pay taxes on something that you were never supposed to pay tax on. In fact, that you've already paid tax on once, and he's invited you to do it a second time. Okay, last item. 50% of your Social Security benefit counts as provisional income. 50% of the money that you're supposed to be getting tax-free counts to see and help you pay tax on that money. That's a big deal. You're a married couple. Maybe you've got $2,000 a month and $3,000, that's $5,000, that's $60,000 a year. You got $30,000 of provisional income and you didn't blink. This is making a huge difference. And it is absolutely killing people in their retirement. By the way, if this had been prorated from 1983 going forward, I wouldn't even be talking about it. If married filing jointly, by the way, and I've said several times to you that you were targeted. Do you see that $44,000 there? That chart was invented in 1983. They set it and forgot it and let inflation do its job. In 1983, if your grandparents had $44,000 in retirement income and provisional income, they were amongst the wealthiest 2% in our country. Nowadays, you don't have to do very much to get to that number. In fact, if it had been prorated just with the same amount that Social Security has been prorated, that 44,000 would be today 142,000. Honestly, if that's who they were taxing, I probably wouldn't say a word. But that's not the way it works. All right. I'm going to do, forgive me, I want to do a tax. I know we had some trouble in the beginning. We're a little over, but I'm going to go as quickly as I can here. But this is, I just think, critical. This is a case study on taxes in retirement, and I need you to pay attention because I think this is maybe the most important thing I can talk about tonight. All right, here it is. If your client's age 64 and 62, this is very typical, with just over 34,000 in combined annual Social Security income, if both file at age 62. Why do they want to retire at 62? Well, they're starting retirement with right around $752,000 in IRAs and 401ks. Now, some of you are going, that's it? Just 752? This couple with only 752,000 has a rip-roaring tax problem. And some of you are saying 752, that's a lot of money. This couple with 752,000 saved, $750,000, has a serious running out of money problem. We're going to give them a 6% annual return, 3% inflation. They need about $70,000 per year in inflation adjusted after tax income. And they're going to live respectively to 86 and 89. Here's what this looks like. If they file at 62, they are walking away from $186,496 of Social Security income that they paid for. Mind you, they didn't have to work another day in their life to get that. They paid for it already, but they're saying, no, we don't need it. They need every nickel of it. Here's what this looks like. This is a cash flow. If they take their Social Security at 62, this is what it looks like. The blue bars are their Social Security. The orange bars are their $752,000 that they've saved, 401ks and IRAs. The black line, the graded line, that's their income needs, $70,000 adjusted gross income, after tax income, not gross income, throughout their life. At the end of the orange bars, that white space is empty. It's zero. There's nothing there. They've run out of money. This couple started retirement with $750,000, and 2/3 of the way through retirement, they fit into that category of 46.1% of us that end up without enough money to even pay for their own funeral. They went from $750,000 to living entirely on Social Security. Can they survive? I don't know the answer to that. I can tell you what, no matter what, it is going to be an incredibly difficult adjustment in terms of their lifestyle. And they don't know what they're in for. Let me show you a corrected cash flow. Everything is the same. I haven't changed the way they invested. We haven't given them more returns. It's exactly the same. Everything is the same except for one thing. They're not filing their Social Security early. They're still retiring at 62. But I want you to see where the money is going or where it's coming from. Those orange bars that you see there, they have never paid tax on that. It's $752,000, but they've never paid a nickel of tax. They're going to pay tax on it. So what do? We postpone taking Social Security. We still fund their retirement, We just fund it with money that they have no choice. They might as well pay it because they've got to pay tax on it anyway. But the blue bars, they haven't paid tax on, but they did. That's their Social Security. They paid up front. And if it's done correctly, they don't have to pay again. Look at the difference between the two. Which one do you want? The one where you run out of any capital and you don't have enough money to make it through the end of retirement, or the one where you do? There's no more money here. It's just understanding what's coming and adjusting for it before it's too late. This is a massive problem, and people are getting tripped up by it all the time. I cannot tell you, I don't know why so few advisors talk about the tax issue. I, I will tell you that half of the people that sit down with us tell us that their advisor said they don't do taxes. Talk to your CPA. When they talk to their CPA, they got a similar answer. Well, I don't do that kind of taxes. I just do tax returns. Don't misunderstand me. CPAs can be really brilliant, but they don't typically do this. Okay. Federal taxes, if they don't run out of money, it's like over $100,000 in federal taxes they save. It's a huge deal. 14 more years in portfolio life. You can't understate how big a difference this is for them. If you look at your statement, there is no cost of living applied. So you don't get to see, Social Security will not tell you or estimate for you what cost of living will do next year, the year after, 10 years from now, or 15 years from now. But you absolutely have to have that to have any sense of whether your plan is going to work. And it assumes that you work to one of three static ages. You retire at 62 or 70 or your full retirement age. Most of us don't. And maybe the most egregious thing at all, I've said it a few times. I've been married a lot of years. My wife and I, we don't have separate accounts. We don't have separate investment accounts. We don't separate anything. Our finances are immeasurably, inextricably tied to one another. But Social Security looks at her and me like we don't know each other, like we're two ships financially passing in the night. It has to be coordinated for you to have any kind of plan. And maybe I've said this before, Social Security cannot offer you advice. So AARP says whether you're close to retiring or just turning 50, you should check your Social Security earnings record each year to make sure it doesn't contain errors. Look, folks, it's also important to be aware there's a statute of limitation on some of those errors. Look, every time I do one of these workshops, I always do the same thing. I'm going to do it tonight. I offer you a complimentary personal Social Security analysis. I'm going to do a couple things here. I'm going to tell you what that includes. I'm going to tell you who is going to do it for you. And then we're going to explain why we do it. Yeah, I've heard the term, and I respect people who say, "What? Nobody does stuff for free." I'm going to explain why I do this and what's in it for us. All right, it'll cover break-even concepts. I think these are the least important thing we talk about, but it will do that for you. It's easy to understand and implement. It's almost point and click. And then it'll look at alternatives and shortfalls. What if I don't like this, Dave? What if I wanted to do it this year instead of that year? What would that look like? We can do that for you. And what about if I have a shortfall? What if there isn't enough? What are my options? What can I do? How can you bridge that gap? What are the options for me? And then what about retirement income? What about your cash flow? With all due respect, Dave, you said a lot about taxes. What about tax analysis? Can you show me how to save money on taxes? And can you show me how much it will save? Because if you can't, what's the difference? And then what about an income plan? What's the viability of what I'm looking at? Am I counting on my assets for too much? And you might be surprised at this. Many people don't count on them for what they can give consistently, thoroughly. They just don't. And they just suffer living on less than they could because they're afraid. How about if you can get something that gives you confidence about that? And then, with all due respect, what about Roth? The one thing I didn't mention in provisional income is Roth because it doesn't count as Roth. It doesn't count as provisional income. So if you have a Roth plan, great, but is it enough? Have you planned it out? Do you know how to use it? And if you're telling me I need Roth, Dave, how much do I need? And what will it save me? Can you show me that? Yeah, I absolutely can. And then how do you coordinate your benefit? If you don't have a retirement plan that looks at coordinating your benefits, including your Social Security, your qualified, your non-qualified assets, your IRAs, 401ks, your pension plans, your life insurance, TSPs, everything that you're planning on using, even non-qualified, that you're using in retirement to survive and thrive, then honestly, if you don't have that, you don't have a retirement plan. It is so critical that you coordinate those things, including your spouses and your Social Security. All right. If you haven't done this already, go to www.ssa.gov, www.ssa.gov, and you'll be able to download your own statement, and you'll need that to do any kind of planning. And then I'm going to show you how to schedule your complimentary consultation and Social Security analysis. I'm going to give you two options here. Let me explain them, and then I'll explain. You'll see the difference. Here's the first one. It's option one. And by the way, I'm going to ask our tech team to put up a link. I don't know if they can. I don't know if they can put up a QR code or not. I'm hoping they can, but we'll see. But the link will take you right to it. I don't know. Let's hope they can put the QR code up. And then I'll give you. Here's what you do. Option one is everything I just said. It's the whole kit and caboodle. It's the filing strategies. It's tax strategy overview. It's a retirement asset and Social Security coordination with a focus on your taxes and retirement assets. It's everything that you need to make sure that you're not paying more in taxes and you're surviving retirement and thriving in it as best you can do. It is thorough. And then option two, let's say you don't have look, if you don't have money in 401ks or IRAs, if you have Social Security, if the only income you have in retirement is Social Security, it only counts half of that. I don't care how much your Social Security is, half of your Social Security alone will not make you pay taxes. You have to have other income to do that, particularly things like 401ks and IRAs. But if you have 401ks and IRAs, you need option one. If you don't, you need option two. Option two is the workbook. It's the one that I've designed. It's one that I've published. It is we've probably given maybe 100,000 of them away. It's been updated regularly. This is exactly what you need. So option one is the thorough thing. Option two is the workbook. I'm trying to see if our tech team can put the QR code up, and I'll explain what I'm doing. I told you I would do three things. So that's what it is. Let me explain who's going to do it, and then I'm going to explain why we do it, and then we're going to do the Q&A. I have asked somebody that works for us named Justin Ponce to do it. Justin is a fiduciary advisor. He carries a Series 66 from FINRA. He is a fiduciary. He is at the top of his game. He is incredibly good at this. Justin has not just a college degree, but he's an MBA. He carries the CRPC, that's a designation from the College of Financial Planning. It's a chartered retirement planning counselor, and he carries the same NSSA Social Security designation, the only college accredited designation for Social Security in the country, just like I do. He is sharp as a whip. But maybe more importantly, Justin has honed his skills as a listener, uh, I think, to the highest level. Justin has learned that by asking you questions and getting some information, he can hear things and dig deeper than maybe you've ever seen by somebody who does financial planning. I promise you, when you sit with him, first off, he's an incredibly likable guy. He's a 7-year-old daughter who just adores him. He is devoted to her. But look, what the feedback that you're going to give is that he's marvelous at this, that he listens, that he digs in, that he's thorough, that he is absolutely dedicated to our industry. And he takes his role as a fiduciary incredibly high. Now, he's going to do this. I'm going to stress it again, 100% complimentary. So you might say, okay, Dave, what's in it for you? I'll explain. I'm not ashamed of this. I'm very proud of it. We have been incredibly successful. The growth of our company has been through the roof. Here's why. This is the only thing that we do. We don't sell other stuff. We don't talk about other stuff. We do retirement planning and investment management for people in retirement. We don't have 25-year-old clients or 35-year-old clients. I mean, we have a couple in their 40s or so, but it's only because their parents have begged them to come to work with us. It's not because we went out and sought them. This is what we do. And we're really, really good at it. But we're confident, and we've learned over the years that there's a really good chance when you see somebody who is so on their game, who's so good at what they do, that you're going to like it. And there's a good chance if you like it, you'll want more. That's it. We're not trying to turn it around and turn it into something different than it is. We're going to do something that you absolutely need and that is really important for you, with the hope that you go, wow, let's talk some more afterwards. I need more. I'd like to have a relationship. That's it. And if you don't, we understand. But I promise you, you're going to be wowed. He's that good. I'm very proud to say that about him. I will tell you this too. I built my company this way. I'll tell you a very quick study, and then we're gonna go to Q&A. I love Costco. I force my wife to shop at Costco way more often than she would like to, mostly because I push her to go on Saturdays, which is, if you've ever been to Costco, and some of you, you're all over the country, so maybe it's BJ's wholesale, or it's Sam's Club, or it's some other place, but you've got some place like that in your area. And I go because the prices are good. But the thing that drives me to go on Saturdays, you go on a Saturday, at every nook and cranny of that store, they got somebody cooking or microwaving or frying something that I've never heard of. And I've certainly never tried. And they're going to offer and give me some to try. It's how I find new stuff. And my wife and I have a system. We'll go and I'll be trying one, and she won't even look to see what it is. She just looks at me. If I get a smile on my face, she says, we'll take one. And if I get a nudge to her, she says, okay, two. And we'll go through the store like that. And I'm much pickier than you might realize, but I understand. I like to try stuff before I buy it. And I bet you do too. That's why we do this. There was this actor back in the 70s. His name was John Housley, I think it was. He played Dr. Kingsley on the Paper Chase, the contract law professor, and he was really good at it. English accent and just really good at it. But in the 80s, he did these commercials, and he had this strong English. He said, "We get business the old-fashioned way. We earn it." That's what we're doing. Trying to earn your business by showing you what you're missing and showing you how much you need it, and doing something in the meantime that you really need, and it's incredibly valuable. All right. I am going to take down this PowerPoint so I can see you. And hopefully, I don't know if you can see the QR code or not. But if you can't, there's the link. So, well, the QR code's going like crazy, so I'm guessing you can see it. All right, let's pull up some questions, and we will go right into them. Thanks for hanging with me and be patient with me. Yeah, Armin, it definitely makes sense. There's still things that you can do to save money on taxes. Okay, let's pull up some questions, and bear with me. I'm going to read them off to you. Let me check and make sure my tech team's still there. He's there, but I don't see any questions. Can you hear me, tech? Give me a thumbs up. I can highlight these if you want me to, but I need to know that you want me to do that. Okay, Molly Stoner says the QR code is not working. I'm going to go to the questions and see if I can pull some up for us while you're working on that. Okay. Okay. Here's the first question. Turning 65 in February. This is from Liz. Going to work till 68 or so. Employer is over 20 persons. Do I need to apply for Medicare Part A? Yeah, within 3 months of your birthday, one way or the other, you need to alert them. If you're covered, which it sounds like you are, you don't have to take it, but you do have to tell them, "Hey, I've got other coverage, so I don't need it." And you don't want to forget that. It's important, Liz, and you don't want to say it. Okay. Let's pull up the next one here. This is Lisa. When companies drop pensions overnight, there was zero meetings about their 401ks. Yeah, that's incredibly correct. That's a good point, Liz. Not a great way that it was handled. So Denny is asking if the slides will be available to us. No, Denny, but you'll be able to hold this up. You can use the link and rewatch it if you want to. This is from Lisa. She says, so many of us don't have any pensions and will never get back the money we paid in. Why should anyone who receives a pension also get Social Security? Because they paid for it, Lisa. They put money in to both systems. And it's like saying, you know, I paid for my car. Why should I get a dishwasher? Well, the only way you get a dishwasher is if you paid for that too. That's why. Okay. Denny, fifth way to increase solvency, tax income over 200,000. No? Yeah, well, that tax at 184,000 it's scheduled to get up to in the 2050s about $1 million. It goes up every year. So if you look back, 2014, so about 10 years or 11 years ago, it was about 115,000. So it's gone up considerably since then, but it's going to go up more and more, but not fast enough in my mind. but good point. All right, this is from Denny. Says some already required to retire at 66 and 67. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's why having a plan makes more and more sense. Okay, this is Diane. Those of us that FRA is 67 lose 8%. Yeah, you only have enough years. You only have whatever years you have to get to 70. So it's either 4 or 3. You're 100% correct. Okay, let's do this. Here we go. This is Denny again. I'm glad you're so positive. However, this current administration is doing many, many, many things unprecedented, unheard of. Who knows what will happen in another decade? Yeah, nobody knows. You're 100% right, but I hear you. Social Security is not a part. The system is not actually a part of the general budget, so it's unaffected by that. But I totally hear you. Denny says, thanks for this. Must attend an 8:00 webinar. Okay. Maria says, do you arrange for private meetings? Yeah, absolutely. Maria, that's what that link is for. This is from Armin. Does it make sense to do an interview if I'm already retired and getting Social Security? Yeah, if you have money in 401ks, IRAs, things like that, managing how you pull those out is absolutely imperative. Even if you filed it, trust me, not perfect, but it's still necessary. Okay, the people are asking for the link. I think they've got that. It looks like we've got people doing that. Molly Stoner said the QR code is not working, but Gibb is saying it worked for him. So I don't. You might want to try the link, Molly, if the QR code's not working for you, or take a screenshot of it on your phone, and then touch the screenshot button, and it'll work. Here we go. So this is another one here from Tree. What about those of us who are single? Wait till 70, or yeah, it all depends on your circumstance, where the money's coming from, where's the money being used. That's a really good question. That's why we suggest that you schedule an appointment and get that information done. But yeah, I totally get it. It's complex. I get a thank you here from GF Jam. Appreciate it. Paula, thank you for sharing your knowledge and experience so willingly. Appreciate your time. Thank you. Very, very big pleasure to do it. All right, this is from Gibb. Both 72. Wife works. Well, wife took early Social Security in 2016 after a stroke. Her only shot to get increased SSA amount is when I die. Yeah, that's correct at this point. She'd have to switch to yours. That would be the only way to get more. Okay. Oops, sorry. Okay, Susan, thank you for your webinar. This just scheduled with Justin. My biggest confusion is the spousal benefit. I believe it's the giver of the two. Yeah. Thank you. Well, he'll work it out for you. All right, this is from Bonnie Rose. To receive your free Fraterni workbook and or analysis, go to you're applying for the moderator job. Thanks, Bonnie. Thank you so much. All right, Susan says higher. Appreciate it. Okay. I don't know if you mean talk higher. I don't know. Excuse me. All right. It looks like that's the end of the questions. All right. We'll stay up for a little bit of while. Oh, Maria says, you're amazing. Thank you for doing the seminar. A must need. Thank you. That's a great endorsement, Maria. Appreciate it. Okay. And then Jim, can we still put our Social Security on postponement? I took Social Security at 66. where I was just shy of the max. I'd restart once. I reached the top of the scale later this year. My wife and I are okay financially to wait. Yeah, so you can stop. You can pay back if you've taken it up to a year, but you don't have to pay back anything if you just need 6 more months or something. You can just stop, and it will still start accumulating immediately, and then start at when. If you wait till 70, you won't get the whole thing because of whatever gap you had, unless you pay it back. But it doesn't sound like that's your plan. You just want to get to the top of the FRA. So yeah, absolutely, you can do that, Jim. Great question. What about those who are single? Wait till 70 or so. Yeah, I already got that one, guys. Um, okay. Okay. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and experience and willingly. Appreciate your time. Got these two. Yeah, tech. What's it? Got that one too. Sorry, I went through all these. Does it make sense? This is Karen. Does it make sense? Does it ever make sense ever? I think to take it at Social Security at 62 if it's always better to take it much later. That's an interesting question, Karen. There can be reasons. It, let's say you're terminally ill and you're single, and there's no benefit to waiting at that point. Let's say financially, there's no way. You can't do it without it. You become disabled, whatever. Yeah, there are reasons, but most of us have other reasons or things that we need. But great question. Carol, how do I rewatch the video? Just use the link that you had. It's available to you right now, or you can just rewind it. Uh, Good question, Carol. Thanks so much. Sorry for the confusion. I believe this is from Susan. I believe the spousal benefit is half of spouse's benefit if it is higher than your own. That is correct. Half of it has to be higher than your own, not the whole benefit. So your half has to be your half of a spousal. So let's say the benefit is 2,000 and your half of that is half at full retirement age, you get 1,000. But your benefit is 1,001, you get yours, not the spousal. All right, Alicia, thank you for putting this webinar on in terms I could understand. It's important. Appreciate it. Thank you, Alicia. Thanks for that great feedback. Yvonne, we're 73 this year. RMD start. Which option is best for us? Yeah. Either if you don't have, I'm assuming that you've gotten the information about joining Justin in a meeting, or if you don't have other funds, you just have Social Security, then that answer is what the workbook is for. It'll tell you. But there's no way to do that without getting a lot of personal information from you first. But I appreciate your question. That looks like we're at the end. Okay. I can't believe how many people are still here. Thank you, guys. Thank you, folks, for staying with me. Sorry for it taking so long. Sorry for the late start and for the confusion, but we're done. I'm going to wish you all a great evening, great planning, and may you all have a wonderful and peaceful retirement. Enjoy what you've earned. Thank you so much. We'll say adieu and goodbye.